Was JaDine the last great love team? In the golden era of Filipino love teams, where on-screen chemistry turns into real-life headlines, few pairs burned as brightly and as boldly as Nadine Luster and James Reid. Together, they became JaDine, a name that defined a generation of Kilig, rebellion, and modern romance. But years after their breakup, one question still lingers in the hearts of fans. Was JaDine the last great love team? The rise of a phenomenon. JaDine's story began with the 2014 film Diary ng Panggit, a teen romantic comedy that unexpectedly turned into a cultural wave. What started as a Wattpad adaptation quickly evolved into something much bigger. Their playful chemistry wasn't forced, it felt organic, electric, and authentic. That momentum exploded with Talk Back and You're Dead, solidifying their box office power. But it wasn't just about ticket sales. JaDine represented a shift. They weren't just sweet, they were edgy, stylish, a little rebellious. Then came On the Wings of Love, the series that cemented their status. The show wasn't just a hit, it became a phenomenon. Social media trended nightly. International fans tuned in. Their characters' journey from strangers to lovers mirrored what fans believed was happening in real life. And when they confirmed their relationship off-screen, the fantasy became reality. More than just Kilig, what made JaDine different wasn't just their romantic appeal. It was their evolution. Unlike traditional love teams that stayed within safe, wholesome narratives, JaDine matured with their audience. Their film Never Not Love You showed a raw, imperfect relationship. It wasn't fairy tale love anymore, it was complicated, painful, and real. Nadine's award-winning performance in that film proved she wasn't just part of a love team, she was a serious actress. Off-screen, they built an image of creative independence. They explored music, fashion, and self-expression. They weren't boxed into the pa-sweet mold. They were cool, international, modern. For many millennials and Gen Z fans, JaDine felt relatable in a way earlier love teams didn't. The breakup that changed everything. When JaDine officially confirmed their breakup in 2020, it felt like the end of an era. Love teams have survived splits before. Some reinvented themselves. Others quietly faded. But JaDine's separation felt symbolic. It marked a turning point in Philippine entertainment, where individuality began to outweigh the traditional love team formula. Afterward, Nadine carved her own path, earning critical acclaim and embracing bold, independent projects. James focused on music and entrepreneurship. They grew separately, and perhaps that growth was inevitable. So, were they the last? The Philippine entertainment industry still produces love teams. New pairings rise. Fans still ship. Chemistry still sells. But JaDine represented something transitional. They began as a classic teen love team. They evolved into real-life partners. They matured artistically. And they ended with honesty rather than scandal-driven chaos. They weren't just a love team. They were a cultural moment. In a time when audiences are more aware, more global, and more invested in authenticity, it's harder for love teams to recreate the magic of that era. The formula has changed. The industry has shifted. Social media has amplified both love and backlash. JaDine may not literally be the last great love team, but they might be the last of their kind. A love team that started with Kilig, grew with its fans, faced real love, and let go with dignity. And maybe that's why, years later, people still ask the question. Because greatness isn't just about staying together. Sometimes it's about the impact you leave behind. Dizzy. The legacy they left behind. Even after the split, the shadow of JaDine lingers in Philippine pop culture. When people talk about modern love teams, comparisons are inevitable. From their fashion influence to their music collaborations, Nadine Luster and James Reid helped redefine what it meant to be a tandem in the 2010s. They weren't confined to teleseries and mall shows, they became lifestyle icons. They influenced the rise of cool couple branding, artist-led music production, social media intimacy with fans, a more westernized, indie-inspired aesthetic. Unlike earlier love teams built almost entirely by networks, JaDine felt self-made at times, especially as James ventured into music production and Nadine explored alternative cinema and advocacy. The shift after JaDine. After JaDine's breakup, something changed in the industry. Networks began experimenting more. Actors were paired differently. Some artists chose solo branding over long-term love team contracts. The audience, too, became more critical, less willing to blindly believe in reel-to-reel romances. It raised an uncomfortable truth. Maybe the era of permanent love teams was fading. The love team model had always been powerful in Philippine entertainment. It built loyal fandoms and box office success. But JaDine's journey showed both its strength and its limitations. When real feelings are involved, the pressure becomes enormous. Every glance becomes a headline. Every rumor becomes a storm. JaDine survived that storm for years. And that endurance is part of what made them great. Why fans still feel the magic. Even today, clips from On the Wings of Love trend on TikTok. Old interviews resurface. Throwback concert performances circulate online. Nostalgia hits hard. Because JaDine wasn't just about romance. They represented young love in the digital age, creative rebellion against traditional molds, growth from teenage idols to mature artists. And perhaps most importantly, they felt real. When they laughed, it didn't feel scripted. When they fought on screen, it felt vulnerable. When they separated, it felt human. The final question. Were they truly the last great love team? Maybe not. The Philippines will always produce new tandems. Chemistry is timeless. Kilig never dies. But JaDine might be remembered as the last love team that bridged two worlds. The traditional studio-built romance and the modern, self-defined artist era. They began as a fantasy. They evolved into reality. And they ended as individuals who chose growth over illusion. In the end, that might be what makes JaDine unforgettable, not just as a love team, but as a chapter in Filipino pop culture history that marked both a peak and a turning point.